everyone, George here, and we're back again with my implementation of Five Nights at Freddy's inside of Unity with VR. And in the last couple of videos, we were working on the waypoint system. Now we need to move on to something else. And I'm not going to move on to the waypoint description on the tablet because really that's just going to come down to putting a texture on the tablet itself that describes what you're supposed to be doing. And most likely that's going to be something that's pre-made and not something that's created programmatically inside of the game. Like I said, I don't plan on making the waypoints, procedural, something that, I don't have a camera that magically pops up, takes a snapshot, gets the texture, assigns it to it, and creates a random description. We're not doing any of that stuff. That's beyond the scope of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to finish this series. We're up to 155 videos now. Let's get this done. Let's not make new stuff. So anyway, well, the next thing we need to do is to deal with the issue of staying alive for X minutes. And the great news behind that is we don't need to care about AI to find the player and all that right now. That is other stuff that needs to be implemented in future videos. What we do need to care about are free roam around the world, which is already implemented, and then the timer. Luckily, in previous videos that we've done, we already implemented the standard Fnaf timer for 6 hours. All we need to do is take that code, extract it from wherever we happen to implement it, and put it into its own class for us to use in future times. That is its own time manager class. So why don't we go ahead and do that, move this off to the side, and jump on in. Now, the first thing is, it turns out that I implemented this inside of the game manager, and I'm going to need to rip all of that time code out of the game manager to make this thing work. The first thing, though, that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this name to something else. Calling it Game Manager, you'll notice that the icon here is a little bit different than everything else, and that's because Game Manager is sort of a reserved name inside of Unity, and it means something special. So we're going to change that to, how about just, instead of game, what's a synonym for game? Play Manager. How about that? Play Manager. And let's go into the actual object itself and find play. We got to open it up first, don't we? So play manager. And inside of game manager, we're going to change that first over to play manager. There we go. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to right click on this and do a rename and then call that play manager because there's a good chance that it's being used everywhere else. So 3 references and 2 files should apply. So now we won't get any errors. And we got to find everything that has to do with time in here. So this is the beginning of it. So there's some start time, end time. There's a level duration. There's a time multiplier field. So let's get all this stuff together and let's see what else. There's actual time and game time. How much time has passed in real life? How much time has passed in the game? Min transitions, max transitions. I don't know what that is. And there's transition times. Transition, current transition. So let's see, transition times. What is this? Min, max, transition. And then there's this here. So let's go ahead and just create our classes for this. So let's go over to so we have point A to B. Now we're going to create a new folder and call that create folder. And we'll do this survive time. Right click, create, C# script, and we'll do time, let's see, what do we call this? Survive time manager. We should only need one thing, and that's the time manager itself for this entire thing. Let's go ahead and move this over to the other side because we are going to be copying and pasting a lot of fields over. Get rid of that. And here in our play manager, let's start grabbing stuff and moving it over to the other area. So we've got start time, end time, level duration, and time multiplier. All these need to come on over. And let's see, we have actual time and game time, which I'm guessing are also going to need to come over. How much time has passed? How much real life time has passed? Okay. So let's grab them and put them in here. Now we're going to get a lot of errors, I know, but we're going to deal with it as we go along. So here we go. We've got in start for instantiation, float delta is equal to end time minus start time divided by transitions plus 1 plus 0. So transitions are equal to, is that how many hours there are? What is min transition and max transition all about here? I get a random... Oh, transitions had to be, I think, when we were moving characters around the game, most likely. So, yeah, here's a whole bunch of stuff here that requires that sort of information. But you know what? We're going to have to figure it out and make it work anyway. So, float delta. Transition times delta times 1 times... That's transitions plus 1. This has to do with implementing a standard Fnaf game and not what we're doing with now. This will have to come into play when we get to part 4 on our list. So I'm just going to comment that code out and let it be for now. So if not game over, actual time plus equals time.delta time times time multiplier. So we can grab all this stuff and put it in here. We don't have a game over at the moment, so we don't need to worry about that. So let's grab this. Game time is equal to actual time divided by level duration times 60. So level duration is however many hours you're supposed to be in it times 60 minutes. So an actual time is in, wait, level duration must be in seconds, because then that would make this into, no, level duration must be in minutes, times that makes it in seconds, because actual time would be in seconds. And then we multiply this entire thing by end time minus start time. And what is end time minus start time? Start time is 0, end time is 6. I guess if for some reason it was something else than that, I don't know. Apparently I was making it robust, which I don't really need to do. So then we truncate the time value down to some amount of time in integers. And then we use that value to dictate whether or not it's 12 a.m. or something else. Okay. You know, we'll probably end up... I don't know if we're going to use this system or not. Text.text. What is text? There's a text mesh in this thing. Oh, wow. Okay, we don't need any of that right now. Yeah, see, here's the AI manager and a bunch of other stuff going on. And that's just going to... I mean, this whole thing needs to get commented out at the moment. Yeah. Geez, we're going to have to rewrite that whole thing, aren't we? That's just a mess. That should be it. Okay. All right, so why don't we look at this ourselves and try to figure this out without relying on past implementations. So we have Survive Time Manager. So the question first is this going to be, in standard Fnaf, you have a certain number of hours that you're surviving in. Is this going to be an hourly thing, or is this going to be an actual minute-by-minute thing that you're supposed to be surviving? I mean, all we have to do is keep time normalized between a value between 0 and 1, and then multiply that by whatever the hour values would happen to be, and then we would have our hourly values instead. So, I mean, why not, right? So, let's change some things up here. So, there's start time and end time, but there's probably going to need to be a couple other things. So, start time and end time are going to be in... minutes, I'm guessing. That's how many minutes I want this to last. And those are going to get set in the inspector. Start time, and let's call this minutes. There's not, actually, no, that's not even what we want. We want public float duration is equal to, I'm just going to say 5 minutes for right now. And that's in... minutes. Let's just call that duration minutes to make it easy for us to remember. And then there's start time hourly and end time hourly. This is if we want to use this in an hourly way to display it as such. And I'm going to say it starts at midnight and would go to something like, oh shit. Excuse me for my language. Let's just do 0 and 6. And these are hours. And then there's level duration, minutes of play time per level. We don't need that. And then there's time multiplier, and this is just, I'm going to say that's 1.0f. This is to speed up game. All right, so we have actual time and we have game time as two floating point values. We have start, which shouldn't really matter. Then we have update. So the actual time is just going to be equal to plus equals time dot delta time times time dot. No, you know what we should probably do is do something like void start time manager. And then we should probably have a bool value is running is equal to false. And then is running is equal to true. So that way, just the idea is maybe for some reason we want to pause this thing and not have it start running off right at the beginning. And then we'll do a void end time manager, just in case we need to end it as well. Is running false. And then an update, we want to do a check to see if is running. Get rid of that. Then we can do actual time plus equals time dot delta time. And this might actually work well if we're doing like a pause menu, I guess, maybe. Actual time plus equals time dot delta time times time multiplier. That's fine. Then game time is equal to actual time divided by level duration, which no longer exists, times 60, which doesn't matter anymore, times end time minus start time. So end time minus start time should actually be end time hourly minus start time hourly, now that we changed that. And all we're doing here is, we're going to get rid of this for a second. Let's see. End time hourly, start time hourly. This is 6 minus 0, and we're multiplying this by some normalized value here. So let's just make this easy and call this normalized time is going to be equal to, we'll call that a float, and that's going to be equal to our actual time divided by the total amount of time this level is supposed to run for, which is something we should probably calculate inside of start. So if our duration in minutes is 5, that's actually our entire time, duration in minutes right there. So all we need to do is take actual time and divide that by duration in minutes, and that's going to provide us between a value between 0 and 1. And game time is now going to be equal to our normalized time times end time hourly minus start time hourly. So that's going to give us a value that is slowly incrementing between 0 and 6. And we just need to check then, after this happens, whether or not a game is over, or whether or not time has hit the end of it. So if game time is greater than, or actually we don't even need to do game time. If actual time is greater than, what is that again? Duration minutes. And actually duration minutes needs to be multiplied by 60. So duration minutes, not that parentheses are required, but it just helps me in my brain. So minutes now turns to seconds. Actual time is in seconds. Seconds divided by seconds makes it unitless. And then we're good to go. So if actual time is greater than duration minutes, no. We want this to be, yes, times 60.0f. Then we can move on. So if that's true, then is running, I'm going to say is equal to false at that point. I'm going to say game time is equal to whatever our end hourly time happens to be. And we're also going to want to signify that we're done. So we want is running is one thing, but bool is timer finished. timer finished is equal to true, something like that. And let's go to timer finished, right click, and do quick actions and refactoring. Let's see. So we have timer finished now. Hold on, I want to do that, right? Yeah, it's still using the variable. Okay. So timer finish is equal to true right there. Great. Okay, so now we have something that we can access that tells us that it's done, which is timer finished. This should actually be a private setter. We don't want that to be accessed by anyone else. And really, that's kind of it for surviving time. We shouldn't really need anything else. I'm trying to think. We can put some debug logs in here and throw it in there and test to see if it works. So if this happens, we can do debug.log. And once again, these things are probably going to become delegates and events once we integrate them further in so that people can subscribe to these events and see that, hey, you know, the game's, the time has run out, or Survive Time Manager has run out. What do you want to do with that? And we'll get to that at some, let's write those down actually. So add, let's see, let's do that right here. Add delegates / events for handling finishing what waypoints, and then stay alive for X minutes. Add delegates. Come on, grab this, copy, paste. Okay, good. And debug.log. Time has completed. You are alive. Hopefully. Okay. So why don't we go into Unity real quick. Oh, we got all kinds of errors here. What's going on? Oh, they're gone. All right. Create empty object. Survive Time Manager. Put the script on top of that thing. Let the values just be whatever they happen to be at the moment. We can leave waypoints. Survive Time Manager. This is going to operate on its own, right? Nothing is going to... All right. This is fine. This is fine. Let's just hit run. And in a perfect world, we're going to hit... Well, I don't want to wait 5 minutes, so we're going to say 1 minute, and we're going to do a time... Oh, it's not going to work. Let's do this. Come back over here. Duration in minutes, 1 minute. No. You know what? 0.5 minutes, and time multiplier 3. And let's hit run and see what happens. And nothing's happening, but we need to wait to see whether or not we get a debug statement, so let's just wait a few seconds. Shouldn't take very long. All right, nothing's happened, so we're going to shorten this down to 10 seconds. Just going to leave the time multiplier at 1, at 2, 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know why nothing's working? Now that's an update. Is it running? Is running true? Is running true? Is running is false. Is running, let's set that to be, for right now, that's the problem. Is run is equal to true. Or let's just call, what, start time manager. That's probably a better thing to do, since we made the method, right? Now let's give it a go. 2, 3, there we go. Time has completed, you are alive. Great. So that means we now have a system for managing time that's separate from everything else in its own class, and we can dig into that in the future for managing time itself. So let's go ahead and create a prefab out of this thing. So grab it and drag it into prefabs, and we're done with that. So let's go ahead and cross that off on our list for timer. Okay, good. So next time, in the next video, I think I'm ready to start trying to integrate these things into a larger scene. I want to get delegates and events in here so that the game actually does end and more things happen. Because really acquiring items and performing actions is important and all, but it's a little bit more, it's like level 2 and we're still on level 1. So let's move forward without that for the moment and continue on. I will see you next time. So long, everyone, and goodbye.